This is the unfiltered, no holds barred conversation about the truth about entrepreneurship. The only difference between an entrepreneur and a person who is working for someone else is that the entrepreneur decided to do everything that they were doing for someone else for themselves. But the real big deal is that they had the mindset to do it. So, you know how they say that most people do a job, or get a job from of someone that they're already connected with or related to. So, like, case in point, they say the majority of the doctors in America had parents who were doctors, right? So, likely, most entrepreneurs are either connected to other entrepreneurs, or they're children of other entrepreneurs, or they're in a community, grew up in a community where they met or worked under other entrepreneurs. The thing that they learned was not the business part, because school teaches you how to run a business and school teaches you how to run businesses for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is really about the mindset. It takes a specific mindset in order to be an entrepreneur, and people can talk to you until you're blue in the face about what that mindset is, but the reality is that you have to go through it. There are so many ways in which people are already entrepreneurs, but they think of themselves as freelancers, as freelancers or contractors, but actually they are entrepreneurs. If I think in school, if we taught more people to think as entrepreneurs, think as people who work for themselves and are responsible for themselves and are good at self-leadership, they would be amazing. This is my second time delving into full-time entrepreneurship. I do have some freelance contracts, but full-time entrepreneurship. And I will tell you, the difference between this time and the last time is my mindset. I didn't even have a concept of the mindset of an entrepreneur. And when I look to the left and the right of me, when I look around, there are no entrepreneurs in my community, or wholly entrepreneurs. I had to join communities of entrepreneurs. So this unfiltered end of the year 2024 conversation is about the lessons I learned as a first year entrepreneur, going from education to entrepreneurship, going from education and entertainment to entrepreneurship. Because in education, of course, you're guaranteed a job, because there's always going to be a job for an educator. Always. It may not be the job you want, but there's always going to be an opportunity for an educator. And if you're an amazing educator, you will work forever. Entertainment is a little bit more of a gamble, it's a little bit more risky, but you are generally in entertainment looking for someone to hire you unless you're an entertaining entrepreneur, which means you're an entertainer who has a business and hires other people. That is currently what I am. I am an entertaining entrepreneur and an educational entrepreneur. I've taken those two skill sets and gone into full-time entrepreneurship. And what no one talks about, it doesn't matter if your entrepreneurship is owning vending machines, ATM machines, owning a brick and mortar business like a laundromat or a restaurant. If you're an online consultant, it's all about the mindset and understanding that you are going to have lessons, repeat lessons over and over and over again. And the piece that no one really talks to you about is how you really have to see that failure is feedback. And you also almost have to delete the word failure, because everything that we call a failure is an opportunity. And when you talk to and listen to like really successful entrepreneurs, they don't use the word fail. They say something like, oh, it was the second time I lost my money, or the second time I went bankrupt, or I had an employee who leaked all of our secrets, or this particular show tanked, da 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 da. Where I come from, we would call those failures. But for them, they were just bumps in the road or obstacles to the task that they were trying to complete. An entrepreneur sees everything in the process as a journey, a piece of the journey. They don't see it as a finish line or a stop, or this is the thing that's going to make me stop doing the thing. Everything is feedback. Everything is information that tells them how to pivot or shift or what to do differently in the next leg of the journey. That is something I had no concept of as an employee, right? Because as an employee, you're evaluated by others. People tell you what works, what doesn't work. And oftentimes, the things that we consider feedback in entrepreneurship might be grounds for being fired or let go of in a job. But entrepreneurship is an opportunity for you to sit back, assess what to do differently, and then jump back in with the skills you learned and start all over again. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa. One of the other pieces of entrepreneurship that is, I think, really, really important is how much you really have to take action. You will not succeed in entrepreneurship by thinking through a thing. Overthinkers will not be amazing entrepreneurs because you have to actively employ the thing you're trying to do. You have to take action. You have to find out if the product you have or the service you offer is good for your target audience. And then once you've put it out there and discovered whether it worked or not, you have to figure out what to tweak, what to release, what to keep, what to move forward with. You've got to take action. So the other piece, an entrepreneur has to have grit. They have to have a hardcore growth mindset. They have to see failure as feedback, and they have to take action quickly. No opportunity wasted. Because the faster you go, the faster you know, and the faster you sow into your business. And yes, entrepreneurs can stop a business and then start a new one, but they're still entrepreneurs. Just because they quit a business or pivoted doesn't mean they failed, because entrepreneurship isn't actually about the business, it's about business. I'm gonna say that again. It's not about the business, it's about business, right? So an entrepreneur oftentimes can be multi-passionate or multi-hyphenate. That means they have multiple skills or things that they're amazing at. And they may try one venture and master that venture, but choose not to do it, or it may look to the world like they failed. But whatever information, whatever feedback, whatever they learned in that particular business or venture, they're going to carry forward into the next one. And you can best believe the next one is going to be much more lucrative and much more, they're going to get their response and information a lot faster because of the skills they learned from the first thing that they did. All of these things, I don't know how to say this. I don't believe they can be taught. I don't believe that someone can walk you through, this is what the entrepreneurial journey is like. Like, you got to just do it. You got to just do it. For me, I'm at the end of 1 year of running a particular business. It's been, founded for 2 years, but really running it as a production company I've been in 1 year of it. And the part that I was never aware of, even though I was completely in the middle of it as an employee, is how dissatisfied employees just are in general. It is the nature of an employee to talk about what they don't like about their job or what is dissatisfied about their job. So when you are an employee, you just kind of, it's like air. Like, people just talk about what they don't like, what they're not used to. But when you're the boss, like, it hits hard. You're like, oh my God, am I really sucking at this? But like, it took another person to sit me back and say, this is what employees do. This is what contractors do. This is what people do. They talk about what doesn't work. They talk about what they don't like. They complain. They're dissatisfied. They're upset all the time, right? And as an entrepreneur, you have to know to not take that piece personally, because even the employees or contractors' dissatisfaction is feedback, right? It's an opportunity for you to discover where you have an opportunity to grow and change, an opportunity for advancement, or whether or not they may or may not be a good fit for the vision and the values of your company. That's the other thing that's so amazing about entrepreneurship. If you walk into entrepreneurship green, like, okay, I'm just here to do this thing because I want to sell these t-shirts because I think it's going to change the world, and you don't have any values, even if you don't have values when you start, baby, once you get into entrepreneurship, those values will come. They're going to become so clear to you. You don't even have to like sit back and journal all over, for days and months to figure out what your values are. You will discover what matters to you, what you believe, what you think, what you value in the process of entrepreneurship. And people are like, well, this happens all the way in life. No, there's something about entrepreneurship where you have to be particularly intentional in order to succeed. In order to make a sale, in order to sell your product, in order to serve people, you have to be intentional. And when you begin to get wins, when you begin to make sales, when people work with you, you're going to begin to inquire, so what is it about me? What is it about my product? What is it that I had to offer that made people say yes? And in that yes, you in the back of your mind, you're going to either align with why they said yes or you're not. If you align, ask yourself, so what is it that I value, that I brought forth in this product or service that made people say yes to me? If it doesn't align with you, then that means you're doing something out of your values, outside of your values, outside of the things that you believe in. And it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel uncomfortable to you. So I believe this thing is the best teacher in the world. You learn so much about yourself. You learn things about yourself you never would have known. The closest people to you could not see. You learn so much about the world and how emotionally driven people are. You learn so much about supply and demand. You learn about the seasons, especially like let's say you come up with a product and initially it does not do well, but over time there's a demand for it because of what happened in the world. So many people experienced this during the pandemic. They just had they may have been in an ebb season, but because of the pandemic and because of quarantine, all of a sudden they're in high demand, right? So you learn about the needs of your audience and of your people in the process of entrepreneurship. You learn about psychology. One thing as an entrepreneur you can never afford to be is despondent. You can't afford to be disinterested. You've got to be interested. Even I think about, there are certain restaurants in the city where I live where people go and the folks there are rude. They're rude. But the food is good. So even if it appears that the people serving and offering the food are disinterested, the product, the love and the care and the quality of the product suggests that they are, right? But what could happen and what does happen is somebody opens a competitive style place that serves the same kind of product and then they have great service. Baby, please know the folks are going to shift to the new place because people want to be treated well. Entrepreneurship will teach you how people want to be treated. It will teach you how you want to be treated. One of the ways I think I succeed best as an entrepreneur in service, as a service-based entrepreneur, because I have a product-based company and a service-based company. As a service-based entrepreneur, is that coming out of education, I was always an amazing educator because I was able to teach a topic or a subject 4 different ways. I always believed in teaching using the VARK method: visual, oral, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. So as a service-based entrepreneur, I do the same thing for my clients. I do the same thing when I'm consulting. I do the same thing when I'm coaching. I teach it from multiple different ways because the interesting thing I find is not only do people have different learning styles, people have different learning seasons. People have different learning moments. So I may teach something, and most of us don't have one learning style. We're percentages of different things. So I used to be 50-50, or maybe 30-30 visual and reading and writing. And then oral was my last and kinesthetic was the 3rd place. But there are some things that I have to read. I cannot do visually, right? I have to read that concept. But over time, and in some subject matters, if I am, I know that if I have to go teach something, I become more of a kinesthetic person. I have to go through the process of actively, physically modeling and practicing that thing in order for me to master it to teach it to someone else. And I've coached people before who, once I learned their learning style, it may be a month or a month and a half of them wanting to learn that thing and clicking with a thing in their majority, mastered learning style or their preferred learning style. So they're oral learners. Oral learners tend to like to ask a lot of questions and go through conversation in order to learn. But then based on life and experience, your learning style can shift and based on the season. So one of the ways in which I've learned that I do well as a service-based entrepreneur is that I never teach one thing one way. I teach it multiple ways, knowing that seasons change, people change, experiences change, and my way of showing a thing or showing a topic in different ways allows the person to be able to enter it or enter the subject matter from different points of view. Just an aside there. But again, as an entrepreneur, I had to often go back to the lab and realize that my pay is based upon my clients' happiness, right? Their great testimonials leads to more clients. So if they're not satisfied, I don't eat. Which means that I have to consistently hone and polish my craft as an educator, and as an inspirer and an encourager. So again, this thing is not for the faint of heart. What does that mean? What it means is, yes, you can be emotional. Yes, you can be emotionally healthy and well and feel all kinds of things as an entrepreneur, but you cannot allow those feelings to get in the way of your output. You can't do it. You cannot allow those things to get in the way of your output. The last thing I want to say about this today before we go and move forward is that it's really important that we, as entrepreneurs, use the strategy of what did I learn about myself in this process? Not just what did I learn about the client or what did I learn about the experience or what will I do differently? What did I learn about myself? Because the more that we assess ourselves after every entrepreneurial venture or project, the better we get. So we will, most of the times to be an entrepreneur, you have to be really good about assessing your product, your team, the business, but at the end of the day, you are the business. So when you work on you, you inherently work on the business. I will offer that you can work on the business and not work on you. Some people say that, oh, if you're an entrepreneur and you work on a business, you're automatically going to work on yourself. Nope. But when you work on yourself, you automatically work on the business, because the work in yourself causes you to shift how you work in the business. Therefore, the business shifts, because as the leader, there's a trickle down experience. So this educator with entrepreneurship, I officially retired as a K through 12 teacher in 2022. Baby, I didn't look back. I didn't miss that thing to save my life. In the first year, there was a lot of just fear. Like I was frozen. I could not move forward. It was the scariest thing for me. I realized how much I had aligned my life around my success as an educator. And so I took some freelance jobs, did a little dabbling here and there. And what's interesting is that even a little bit of dabbling I did, I was really successful. But in this past year, I quadrupled my salary as an entrepreneur. And I didn't even go hard because the fear was real. But 2025, baby, we, as the people say where I come from, we finna go hard. Quadrupled my salary. Only going at a snail's pace, fits and starts, fear leading. But what I did do differently this year is, even though fear was like this toddler sitting right here next to me, no toddler sitting next to me, but you know what I'm saying? I brought that toddler kicking and screaming with me into the store. I didn't care. You know how a parent is like, we'll get embarrassed about our child kicking and screaming. I didn't care. I was like, you coming with me. Kick and scream all you want, but we're about to figure this thing out. And those are the pieces that you have got to get past. I always thought the sign to go was when you were like past the fear and when you learned everything. You don't learn everything. At a certain moment, you got to stop taking the lessons. You got to stop reading all the books. You've got to take action. I'm not saying don't do them at all. I'm saying take action concurrently at the same time. That's the key. So as a person who has moved from education to entrepreneurship, from entertainment into entrepreneurship, I want you to know you've got this. Assess yourself, have a growth mindset, know that your growth is the business's growth, and take action immediately. Failure is feedback. It's not even failure. Every experience is feedback. You've got this. We can do this together. Let's go.